The labels and curses associated with African people had made their way into English language and literature by the time Atlantic slavery had begun. This was bolstered by the writings of explorers and missionaries and those involved in conquest. These accounts were complemented by those of other writers, such as geographers, some of whom had not even visited the places they were writing about. One of the earliest was that of the 13th century explorer Marco Polo. He reached the island of Zanzibar off the coast of East Africa. He described the people he came across thus: "They are all black, their mouths are so large, their noses so turned up, their lips so thick, their eyes so big and bloodshot, that they look like very devils. They are in fact so hideously ugly that the world has nothing to show more horrible." Perhaps the most famous explorer was Christopher Columbus, who made his first voyage in 1492. He described the people of the Americas as Indians who he thought, quote, ought to make good and skilled servants. His second voyage in 1495 was documented by a passenger on the voyage, a nobleman, Michele de Cuneo. His journal following an encounter in Puerto Rico states, "I captured a very beautiful Carib woman. You would have thought she had been brought up in a school for whores." As European nations began to conquer territory, Christianity was spread by missionaries who reported their ideas about the people they encountered. The Spanish Dominican monk, Francisco de Vitoria, believed that the people of the Americas were stupid and incapable of governing themselves. Another Spanish Dominican friar, Bartolomé de las Casas, was critical of the way the Spanish treated the so-called Indians. His argument was that the Spanish should use enslaved Africans to work in the Americas instead. A fellow Dominican monk, Juan Ginés de Sepúlveda, did not agree. They both took part in a debate in Valladolid in 1550 and 1551. After the debate, de las Casas's argument won and Spain increased its enslavement of Africans. One of the first British explorers who wrote about Africa was Thomas Herbert. In the 1620s, he visited the south of Africa. He described the people he encountered as cannibals who were sexually depraved and mated with baboons. He also wrote that they were addicted to plunder and theft and compared their language to that of an ape. Alfred Dapper, a Dutch physician and geographer, published a description of Africa in 1668. It described Africa and Africans based on the accounts of others, as Dapper never visited the continent. Despite this, he stated that the Negro makes little ado in conducting his amorous affairs. The extreme liberty the girls enjoy provides ample opportunity to make their acquaintance, and for this reason they do not remain virgins for long. In the 19th century, these accounts were at their height as Britons, such as Richard Burton, Winwood Reade, and Henry Morton Stanley, explored large parts of the African continent. They all published books about their experiences, for example Savage Africa by Reade in 1864. Stanley, who is probably most famous for the phrase Dr. Livingstone, I presume, wrote 2 books, Through the Dark Continent in 1878 and In Darkest Africa in 1890. He described a group of Congolese people as a rabid man-eating tribe and confessed to shooting some of them. He also helped King Leopold II of Belgium set up the brutal Congo Free State when several million Congolese people were killed or mutilated. Some had their hands cut off if they did not reach the quotas set for the collection of rubber and palm oil. Their treatment was defended by Stanley in his second book, where he argued that they respected the force of those who ruled them. Like the missionaries in the Americas a few centuries prior, those in Africa in the 19th century documented their experiences. Henry Drummond wrote that the people of Central Africa were, quote, half animal, half children, wholly savage and wholly heathen. These accounts complemented those by people involved in slavery and later colonialism, and became the orthodox belief system until the second half of the 20th century. Stay tuned for more videos on where racism comes from. And please like, share, and subscribe.